Hi, I'm here this afternoon with Chris Cummings, a fabulous colleague of mine, and we're in Orlando at an NLP conference.
Yep.
Chris, tell me about your experience of NLP.
Well, I've been kind of involved with NLP now for, probably about 12 years, 13 years, something like that, with our organisation, and it's been amazing, the whole journey. And I'm a master trainer, and also I just have great fun being around all of the NLP guys. They're really, I learned so much from every single one of the people, including Richard, John, Kathleen, absolutely amazing, and all the team members as well. They're really great.
So we meet here, or we meet several times a year as part of the crew that supports Richard and John and Kathleen in their NLP trainings. And I really appreciate what you said about how much we learn, don't we? There's so much to learn. Every time we arrive, we find out something new, and we learn from each other and inspire each other, as well as being inspired from the top. Chris, you mentioned you use NLP in your business.
Yes.
And you have a very large global company, don't you?
Yeah.
Can you tell us a bit about OTD?
Yeah, OTD stands for Our Training Department, and a lot of the work we do is corporate training, so we'll do anything from selling skills training to coaching, one-to-one coaching, coaching in large groups. We even run seminars, and it's great, really good organisation. But one of the key things that we do is all of us in some way use NLP as part of the content of the programs. So what we're really doing is really trying not just to tell people that they need to change, but give them ideas on how to change. So that's really how we use NLP in our business.
That's really, really interesting. I'm just wondering, Chris, about something very specific, because I know that both of us work in the field of bringing out the best in the people that work for us and work with us, and our clients and customers and so on. It kind of reminds me of a conversation you and I have had a bit recently around mental health and emotional well-being in the workplace, because you know, this is a really big issue for us at the moment, and there are a lot of initiatives, certainly in the UK where we're both based, there are a lot of initiatives based around supporting mental health, emotional well-being in the workplace. But quite often it's a bit of a lip service, isn't it? Like, you know, come and talk to us, but there aren't the skills, which you talked about, bringing in the skills to teach people how to think on purpose, behave with good intention and the appropriate outputs, and to feel good for no reason.
Absolutely.
What do you do to support the well-being of your workforce?
Well, okay, to answer that question, we've actually got a well-being, if you will, czar, or someone within our team. She's called Sue, and she spends she spends a lot of time when we have our team meetings. We have as part of the agenda, we have a well-being part anyway, a well-being section. But as a business, what we've really focused on is bringing the best out of each team member, and for us, that includes things like flexible learning or flexible working, making sure that people, we cover the time that people have within the workplace, but at the same time we believe that, you know, people work at different times or are most productive at different times of the day. So some people work better in the mornings, some people work better later in the day. So we kind of give people that level of scope and flexibility to be able to do that. So that's part of what we do. But what Sue does is she will specifically go out and research things that will help bring the best out of each person within our business. And then she brings that to the table at our team meetings. So for example, we might do some kind of meditation, or we might do some kind of positive anchoring to help people boost their confidence or be in a nice calm state when they're answering the phone, all of those kind of things. So we really take this seriously and have fun at the same time.
And have fun.
Yeah, exactly.
So there's an awful lot there about state management,
yes, absolutely.
Isn't there? Which is a term that we use a lot in NLP.
Yep.
You know, and when we can help people to discover for themselves how easy it is to rebalance, reset their emotional states, it puts them back in the driving seat, doesn't it?
It does, and actually when you think about that in terms of standing up in front of an audience, one of the things, and the reason why I run NLP business practitioner programs and master practitioner programs within our business, is to make sure that we are really giving our customers the best possible experience. And the key thing for me is state management. So, you know, for us, state management is absolutely everything. So, you know, a lot of times I will focus all of our team on making sure that they really make the customers feel great.
And that starts with feeling great yourself.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's quite interesting, you talk about the flexible behaviour of your workforce and encouraging them to take responsibility for what their needs and wants and patterns are. That requires quite a lot of insight, doesn't it? It requires quite a lot of personal insight to not just play a system of, oh, you know, I'm not a morning person, therefore I can't go to that meeting, versus I know I am optimised at a certain time of the day. How do you encourage, or how does your SAR encourage people to learn more about themselves in order to take responsibility for the way that they think, behave and feel?
Well, we did, you know, we spent a lot of resource over the last 2 years kind of getting people to, you know, we did loads of surveys, we did lots of, we had a company come in and actually focus each individual person on what makes them work best in the workplace. And as a result of that, we analysed all the data, and my business partner and I, we thought, it's, you know, we both worked in the pharmaceutical industry for decades, and the way we worked was a very rigid way of working. And we thought, well, in the modern workforce, is that still applicable? Does it work well? And the answer was no. And the data was there to support that. So we had a big conversation with the whole team. We started talking about flexible working, what that could mean. We also put some limits on there, you know, because the customer is the most important person. So if there's no one there to answer the phones, then we've kind of gone the other way, haven't we? So we've managed to do that and get it to work. So, but it does take some discipline. And our office manager makes sure that we have cover, but also the team are working well and working well within themselves.
I really love the term working well, and of course in my business we have a service area called Work Well, which is precisely for that, to help organisations support their staff to work well in a very holistic way, emotionally, physically, mentally and socially, as well as economically and so on. What of course I know that you and I both agree on is that what our staff or our customers as staff bring to the table is whatever's going on for them in their private lives.
Yes.
And of course that's a really big issue for us, isn't it?
Yeah, agreed.
Because, you know, for some people coming to work is their only bit of sanity. And for others it's where everything kicks off, so to speak. So, but if we just for a moment think about what goes on in people's home life, and maybe in their communities. I know you're involved in, you do some sort of community support of youth work, and you support your children in the things that they do. We'll come to the children in a moment, but I'm just kind of thinking back a few layers before people even get into the workplace. We do want to encourage them to look after themselves.
We do, and really interestingly, see the thing is, both Andy and I, my business partner, we kind of over the years we've kind of looked after each other, you know, and tried to make sure that we were both okay. Right? And you know, there are things that I suppose we do as early 50-year-old men to keep ourselves healthy, like exercise all the time, trying to eat the right foods, and getting a good night's sleep. Those kind of things are the things that we really focus on as bare minimums. And bearing in mind that most of the people that work in our business are significantly younger than us, we do our best to encourage them to kind of do the same thing. But then at the same time, there's a social aspect to our work as well. So we will have days, like we've got one Tuesday a month where the whole team will go to the pub and go for quiz night, just because we know that
bonding.
It is.
Yeah,
good teams that work well, they normally play well together as well. So we kind of built that in also. But we are very much, I've got to tell you what happened today. So I was on a Zoom call with with a load of people, and we've just launched a new initiative. And the only contribution I made to that conversation was to ask one of the people who was the big project manager in that session, how they were. We'd gone into task mode, and I just stopped. And I said, "Can we just stop a moment? How are you feeling?" You know, and then the big smile came on the guy's face, and you know, it went from there. And I kind of think we don't do that enough in the workplace. We get so focused on the task, and part of what we have to do as a business is to notice when people are feeling a little bit under pressure, and actually say, "Are you okay? And is there anything we can do to help you?" You know, because as you said, people are bringing stuff in from home into work sometimes, and that intensifies. You know,
and in my sort of private client work, I see a lot of adults who are struggling in the workplace, in their personal life, and it's those tiny little things that are missing. So it is connection. People are isolated, they're lonely, they don't have somebody to listen to them, they don't understand how they can let go of the problems of the day. They bring them home, it interferes with sleep, so then they drink or eat the wrong things, and so it becomes this vicious sort of negative spiral. So actually, by leading with a role as a role model, as a great example, you're encouraging your staff to do something very similar. Very good.
The other thing that we do our best not to do is do those classic things like sending emails after work hours, sending emails at the weekends. All of those things can add to people's stress, because then they have to feel like they've got to answer the email when they're with their family, for example. And so we do our best to avoid all of those classic things that kind of you see or we've done in corporate life. So, you know, so we really do our best to try and, I'm not saying our workplace is perfect and rainbows and unicorns by any stretch of the imagination.
My favourite.
However, we made a conscious effort, and we continue to make a conscious effort to make things a lot better in the workplace and make people work well.
Thank you. So we've talked a little bit about the adult world. We've talked a bit about, you know, what people bring into the workplace, what people are dealing with in their home lives, and the skills that we use with NLP to encourage people to think smarter, to feel better, to behave on purpose with integrity, and so on. And if we reverse engineer that back to childhood, as you know, one of my great passions is a prevention model, because we understand what we have to do at the intervention level with adults, but actually in a smarter world we would prevent it coming to this point.
Agreed.
And as you know, Chris, thank you for being such a great supporter. I've just launched my book, The Happy Brain, which is very strongly a model of prevention, and based on what children have told us from the outset. You know, you work with some children in a play environment and you see how they're already beginning to stack up what we call in NLP the deletions, the distortions and the generalizations in their language, and particularly the distortion patterns like, you know, she looked at me that way, that means I'm going to have to move school, everybody hates me. You know, that huge distortion. And it's there in real clear sort of tangible language. We catch that with children. So encouraging all parents or those working with children to be able to gently challenge or chide the children out of those, to help them to see a different way of responding. So in Happy Brain training, we have a very simple exercise called Undoing Thinking Traps, where the children just learn 5 language patterns. What else could it mean? What's the worst? What's the best? What's most likely? What else? What would somebody else think? Really simple stuff. So very surface introduction to NLP. My question for you, because you have lots of children.
Yes, I have 4 children with my wife, and then I have 1 adult with my ex-wife. So
you have 5 children. I have 5 children.
Yes,
too,
yeah.
So
Oh, well, there you
we're
go.
in the 5 children club.
2 football teams together, then 2 5-a-sides. Yeah.
So when my children were young, like your children, or 4 of your children are, I didn't have this skill set. I didn't understand what I now know. And largely I've written that book for the younger version of me.
Yes.
So, to go back in time, what did I need back then that would have given me what I needed to be more accomplished within myself and to support my family. But of course you have an amazing skill set now while your children are small. Are you consciously aware of how you use your NLP skills, for example, to encourage your children to have better operating systems, for want of a better expression?
Yes, and just to pre-frame all of that, as a parent, you can get so emotionally involved in lots of things, so you kind of need to be able to disassociate yourself from the situation with your child before then, kind of doing any kind of intervention and hoping that it's an unconscious thing that you're doing anyway. I love the idea of the 5 patterns that you were just talking about, because I'm thinking, some children are experts at distortion. Aren't they? They're amazing. And for me, I've got a 12-year-old daughter, I have an 8-year-old daughter, and I've got twin boys. And when I watch them sitting at the dinner table having a chat, that's a great time to really work out what's going on. Right.
Do we ever work out what's
I know, not really, but at least that snapshot is a snapshot in time when they're all socialising.
You get to watch this children.
It is hilarious. And my wife and I, you sit there and you think, wow, where did that come from? And you kind of have to, you've got to resist the temptation. This is my view, right? I need to resist the temptation to step in and solve straight away. The pacing and leading side of things is a really, really important thing. And one of the things that I've noticed is that one of my boys is very much, I think a lot of times that I can challenge some of his distortions just by texting.
Oh.
Right? Now
I've heard this pattern a lot.
Exactly. Now this medium wasn't available to him because they're too young as far as we're concerned to have phones. But he's borrowed his older sister's iPad or Samsung tablet. Others are available. And I guess the key thing is I'm now having dialogue with him that I didn't have before. And it's both of us are disassociated from so I can have really good conversations with him.
And it has to be clean because you can see the language.
Absolutely. So that's working out. And an 8-year-old child typing stuff in compared to a 28-year-old, completely different. So you get real good, clean communication. So it's great, really good.
I've actually heard other parents say that it's a double-edged thing, isn't it? Because on one hand, one of the biggest complaints I get from parents is that their children spend too much time on screens, whatever the screens may be. However, as you say, just the opportunity to get somebody to see the language as it's coming out and forming it and being cleaner about the way it's used.
Absolutely.
And if it's your route to match, then it's a good starting place.
Well, put it this way, from my perspective, sometimes I'm away from home for long periods of time, and it gives me the opportunity and him the opportunity to connect, where when we probably wouldn't have. Maybe the phone call home, and then everyone's scrabbling to try and fight for a little bit of time.
Are you really popular when you come home?
Yeah, briefly.
Spend a lot of time.
And then they go back to their normal activities. But I like it. I feel much more connected at home now because they've got these devices.
Okay, because when you're away, you've maintained contact.
Absolutely.
With them. Okay.
It's great, And what's really good is my son set up the app, in order to be able to communicate with me, and so we did it together. So now it's our red phone. It's great. It's really good.
You sound like such a technical dad.
Oh, well, they're teaching me.
Yeah. Well, I gathered that. Yeah. Oh, Chris, thank you so much. Is there anything else that we want to talk about? It's all right, we're going to edit this.
Yeah. No, I mean, for now, no. I think we've covered everything. The only thing that I was going to talk about a little bit was kind of some of the other things that we do at work, but we could do that as a separate thing.
Let's just do it now.
Well, all it was you talked about community, and so my business partner and I were.
Don't tell me. Let me do it live.
Oh yeah. Okay. Great. Yeah.
So we're going to pick up something around community.
Yeah.
And what's the angle?
Well, I mean, all it is just doing stuff with homeless people. So that was it. That was all it was, and then you end up.
Yeah.
Going down that road of thinking, how can we help homeless people with mental health challenges?
So
what can we bring from there?
Contribution. That was what we spoke about earlier.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. So Chris, both you and I, we both in our spare time. For what that is. Whatever that means. We both highly prize and value being of contribution to our respective communities and to others. And we both volunteer in different ways.
Yes.
So I volunteer with a number of charities, including as a Samaritan and support people who are really struggling with their mental and emotional health. You also have a very strong view about contribution to society. Could you tell us something about that?
Yeah, I mean, all it is, on my journey from the train station to the office, there are so many homeless people. And my business partner noticed it as well, and kind of all of our team members did. And we thought, we've got to do something about this. How can we bring the work well thought process and philosophy into some kind of community work? And so firstly, my business partner, he wrote to our MP, and that was the first thing he did. But also the other thing that we did was we started looking for charities that we could actually volunteer at.
Shelter? And
some of those ones. And there's one that we do work with. And and so now it's really good because we thought we would all have a go at volunteering and seeing what it's like to work in one of these places just for a day, and it's been brilliant, because you kind of feel like, even though we're not running the place, it's great that people that take their time and they say, and everybody volunteers to do it, because we say, well, guys, you don't have to do it if you don't want to. Everybody feels that they can add something. And so, and I noticed the other day there was a meeting between my business partner and some of the key people within that business, and it looks like we're going to continue doing this work for quite a while. But for us, that's kind of, that phrase "giving back's" a bit of a hackneyed phrase. I love it that people within our business just want to do it, and they want a way of being able to do it.
It's so inspirational because, you know, on one hand you're saying you're this role model for your organisation because you look after your health and your well-being yourself, and your partner does the same, and also you're being of some kind of service or a contribution to something other than self.
Absolutely.
Do you think that the tide is turning? We're of a similar age, and I think there has been a disconnect from the other members of society. I think we've become very boundaried and territorial.
Yep.
But there seems to be a tide turning and an awareness of how can we connect with others and support the needs of others as best we can.
Yeah.
And so if you think about, you've chosen homeless people as an example of how you can reach out and change one person or two people's lives and influence your staff to do something similar. Do you see that sort of chunking back into the global international business model that you have? But if you think about your business plan, is social contribution a significant part of your business plan?
We would, you know, in business parlance, it's one of our critical success factors.
Oh, wow.
And so to the point now where we'll create materials for our trainings and they're sustainable materials, you know, and, you know, that's come two ways. It's come from feedback from some of our very much more planet conscious customers, but also from ourselves and from the team. You know, we've got a number of younger people. We've got a great intern who works for us at the moment. She's lovely, and, you know, we will ask her, what do you think? You know, what else should we be doing? Rather
and
than
you're listening.
And we're listening and we're acting on it. So, you know, it's great. So and long may it continue. You know.
Do you think that other larger organisations have a true social conscience, or are they still? This is a very brushstroke, but I hear a lot of lip service being paid to, you know, social conscience. But how much do you see evidence of?
That's quite tough, because in their defence, some organisations, some of them, kind of, they appoint somebody to do this as only a part of their job. So it's not even in their objectives. You know, they've got to do all their work and they have to do this as well. And, you know, when it comes to appraisal time, you know, that falls out of the window. And I think that's where it falls down, and that's where it can end up being lip service. And I think that's a key thing. So, you know, that's my observation. I think not all of the customers that we work with are 100% focused on it, but there's one company that I do work with, and they've made it part of their CSFs, or critical success factors. I did some strategic planning with them last year, and they made it, and for it to the point where their company cars are all electric cars.
Oh, wow.
So they've really gone to town with this, you know, and that's kind of, and actually the way we can help companies do that is by citing examples from other companies. You know,
so good practice. You're looking for good practice. So that's good practice in the environmental blah. What's the word I'm looking for?
Sphere.
No.
Realm.
Can't find it. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Blah 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 blah. So taking care of the environment, being aware of the bigger picture, that's you know, that's something that you're aware of within your own organisation, and you're noticing good practice in other organisations also. I just would like finally to draw that back to what we term mental health.
Yes.
Because it's such a buzzword for us at the moment in the UK, and unfortunately it's not. I think it's not a very valuable and useful term. But we know what it means.
Yes, yeah.
So it's easy to say, yes, I'm driving an electric car.
Yeah.
You know, I am a recycling minimal waste and. But I'm going to take antidepressants because I can't cope with the world, and I'm going to close down internally. So for me, I see that there is not enough fluidity in the big picture at the moment.
Yeah.
Would you comment on that?
Yeah, I suppose I could. I mean, I don't know how many of my customers are in that situation, but what I can say is that, you know, again, going back to the NLP side of things, because we have a lot of NLP trained people, their job is to help people change their state. So they're changing their internal brain juice, for want of a better phrase. And so, you know, our role is to make people, or create the environment for people to feel great with every interaction they have with us, and mean it, you know, fully congruent. You know, not just turning a switch on and doing it and then going back to their own grumpy selves, you know. It's all about making it, actually living that life, you know, and shining the light on people.
Absolutely, and it starts in there, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Which brings me full circle back to Happy Brain. And in Happy Brain, we major on just 6 neurochemicals, because there are over 100, but only 6 that we can easily understand, find more information about, and they have profound effect. And of course, you have inadvertently been talking about them. There's the oxytocin of connection, going to the pub. There's the serotonin, having some downtime, relaxation,
and
the endorphins from laughter, and so on. So, you know, it is really profound, isn't it, when you see this chemical interaction that's just spreading through the workplace.
It's great. I love this. I mean, you know, and I love those aspects from your book, because all these years I've been telling team members, you know, why don't you just mix a cocktail of states up, you know, and it's all in there. So it's great.
Yes, I think that's been one of the greatest feedbacks that I've received with great gratitude, is we talk long and hard about state as if it's a known thing, but actually what we mean is a whole range of different chemical states that constantly change at all times through our body, through our nervous system, and how that process is so easily influenced by, as you rightly say, things like sleep and active movement and sleep and contact, connection, and just having fun.
Absolutely.
And speaking of fun, we are about to take part in another neurohypnotic repatterning course with Dr. Richard Bandler and John and Kathleen Laval. We've both assisted on it many, many times. And we're both here as delegates because we love it so much. It's just a nice opportunity to have some downtime from our busy lives and do something special for us.
Absolutely. And you never stop learning. You know, it's always good to just keep that going. You know? It's great.
I love it. And for me, I have a very special intention for the week ahead, and I know I'll tell you at the end of the week whether it happens. So, because intention sets direction.
Absolutely.
Is one of the NLP principles, and yes, I'm so looking forward to the days ahead.
Ooh.
Thank you so much, Chris. I hope you've enjoyed this interview with Chris, a hugely influential friend and colleague, and a great person to inspire, have around, employ. No, I can't employ you.
No.
Hire.
Yeah.
All round great guy. Thank you so much, Chris.
It's been a pleasure, Kay. Love it. Thank you.